When you open the HearSIM software, the patient screen is the default view. Each row represents a patient, and the columns display basic information, including the patient's name, ID, a symbol reflecting the child's sex, and the birth date. The last update column displays the most recent date on which data from the screening device was transferred into HearSIM, or on which edits were made to the patient's information. By default, the list is sorted by last update so that you can see the most recently entered patients when you enter the software. You can scroll the list to display additional patients. The additional columns labeled TEOAE, DPOAE, and ABR display quick reference information about the last screening test for the patient. For example, here you'll see in the ABR column that there's a green check near the right and the left ears of the baby head graphic. This indicates that the last ABR tests performed were passes in both ears. The orange X here indicates that the last ABR test conducted on this patient's right ear was a refer. Here in the TEOAE column for this patient, you see a question mark, meaning that the last TE test for this patient's right ear was not completed. Your screening device may not support all of these test types, and in that case, you'll only see these symbols in the columns that apply to your device. Above the list, you'll see words that help you sort the list in order to see what you're most interested in viewing. By default, the All list is selected. If you want to focus on patients who have at least one ear that was not tested yet, you can choose the Ears Not Tested filter, and only those patients are displayed. Or if you just transferred data from your device to HearSIM, select the Just Transferred filter to view only those patients. Those are just two examples of the available filtered lists. Hover your mouse over the row of a patient and you'll see new icons appear at the front and back of the row. The checkbox icon in front of the name allows you to select patients. New controls appear in the upper right corner when names are selected. Using those, I can print a quick report for the patients, print a list of the selected patients, or add or remove a flag from the patient row. The flag is intended to be a reminder for you that something needs to be done regarding this patient. When I hover my mouse over a patient row, icons at the right of the row also allow me to print out a quick report for the patient or flag the patient's name. To search the database for a specific patient, I can use the magnifying glass icon in the upper right corner, and a search field will appear. Type in last name, first name, or ID to search for the desired patient. As I type, the list interactively adjusts to display only patients with matching information, so I can find that patient more easily. Select the X at the back of the search field to clear it and return to the full list. When you're ready to transfer the patients and their tests from the screening device to HearSIM, connect the device to the PC. After a few seconds, an icon will appear in the bottom left corner of the screen. A bar graph inside confirms that there's data on the device that's waiting for transfer. Click on the icon and then select Import. Wait while the import is taking place. You'll be informed when the transfer is completed, and then you can close the window. Information for patients that you've entered and tested using the screening device is saved in HearSIM when you transfer that data in from the device. However, you can also add patient names directly into HearSIM and then transfer selected patient names to your device if that's a more suitable workflow for you. This method avoids typing in patient information using the small keyboard on your touchscreen device. To add a patient, select the Add Patient icon in the upper right corner of the patient screen. The new patient window will open. Enter the patient's information. The patient ID field is required. All other fields are optional. Select Save to complete the entry, or Save and Edit if you want to enter in additional information for the baby. This will open an expanded window with more fields in two tabs, the Patient Details tab and the Contact Info tab. The fields you see in these pages can be configured to your preferences. That will be discussed in a separate video. When you've completed all your desired fields, select Save Changes. To transfer patients from HearSIM into your device, select the checkbox in front of the names of the desired patients. Connect the device to the PC and wait for the device icon to appear in the bottom left corner. If the device is ready to receive patient names, it will have a graphic of people inside. Click inside the device icon to open a transfer window and select Transfer. Wait a few seconds while the process is taking place. Now the names of the selected patients are in the device, ready to be screened. When you attach the screening device to the PC, if the graphic inside the icon is a bar graph, this means that data is present on the device and you must first download the data into HearSIM before you can transfer your selected patient names. Patients and their screening data can be exported from HearSIM in several different file formats. These exported files make it possible to merge HearSIM screening data into other databases used by regional or state EDI programs. Supported formats are HiTrack and Oz ESP, which are commercially available hearing screening database programs. Other formats supported are CSV and HearSIM XML. Other formats may be added over time. To export data from HearSIM, click on the main menu control in the upper left corner and select Export Tests. Define the parameters of a search to limit the export to only the tests you need to include. Use the two calendar controls to define a date range. Select the Exclude Incomplete Tests checkbox if you want to exclude unfinished tests from the export. Select the Exclude Exported Results checkbox if you want to exclude tests that you've previously exported. Select the Search button to execute this search with these parameters. In the bottom right corner, select the Export Tests icon. A Windows browser will appear, allowing you to define the path to which the file will be saved. Very important is that you choose the correct file format from the Save As Type drop-down list. A default file name will be present in the File Name field. If you need to change the file name, it can be edited here. When the settings are correct, select the Save button. Now your screening data is saved in a file in the path you defined and is ready for you to send it or merge it into your regional or state EDI database. To review a patient's information and screening results, first find the patient in the patient screen and click on their row. An expanded screen appears with tabs of information, including test results, patient details, and contact info. Select the tab of interest. For now, we'll be looking at the Test Results tab, which displays a list of every screening test that was transferred into HearSIM. Some information displays in the list, including the test year, the result, type of test, test date and time, and perhaps some other information, such as screener name and facility, if you set up your device to save this information with your tests. If you want to see more detail, you can click on the specific test to open an expanded view. In the expanded view, a graph will display and will be different depending upon the screening type. You'll also see information about the measurement, device information, and information about the screening test protocol used. You can close the expanded view by clicking on the arrow in the upper left corner. In the Patient Details tab, you can review all of the patient information. In the Contact Info tab, you can review information about the baby's mother or alternate contact. It's also possible to edit or add more information into these fields at any time. Editing information will be covered in another video. There are several ways to print a screening report. If you want to print a report for a single patient, hover the mouse over that patient's row in the patient list and select the quick print icon that appears at the end of the row. If you'd like to batch print a quick print report for several patients, for example, for the patients you just imported from the device, then go to your Just Transferred list and select the checkbox in front of the name of each patient that needs a report printed. Then select the printer control in the upper right corner. A quick print report will include the most recent test result for each year and of each test type by default. The amount of detail in a quick print report will depend on settings you've made in the Administration Print page. You can choose a basic or a detailed report format. In this setup page, you can also define your report header and load a logo that will appear at the top of the report. If the tests that are printed in a quick report are not the tests you want to print, then click on the patient to expand to the Test Results tab. Here, you can choose the exact test you want to print by clicking on the small printer icon near each individual test and then click on the print icon at the top of the screen. If you've imported patient names from HearSIM into your screening device, you can take the device to the baby for screening. You choose Select Patient and find and then select the desired patient name in the device list. You'll see the information that was transferred from HearSIM. If you discover that some information is incorrect, you can fix it on the device, but you must add or edit the information before performing the screening. After fixing the error and performing the screening, later you'll take the device back to your PC to import the screening data to HearSIM. During the import process, you'll be notified that there's a conflict in the data coming back in compared to the data currently saved in HearSIM. You must resolve this conflict during the import process. Note that there are columns of data that show the values saved in HearSIM versus the new values coming in from the device. In this case, there's a question mark for the first name field indicating that there's a mismatch for the original value compared to that from the device. Click on the correct value, and when the question marks are all gone, then select Resolve. The data in HearSIM will reflect the data you chose during this process. In HearSIM, it's possible to edit or add patient and contact information at any time. To do this, just choose the patient's row in the list to open the expanded screen. Select the tab containing the information you want to edit or add. For this example, I'll select the Contact Info tab. Now select the Edit control in the upper right corner and the fields become open for editing. Make the changes or corrections, and when you've finished, click on the Save Changes control at the bottom of the screen. You can also edit some limited test information. Select the Test Results tab and click on the test you want to open for editing. Select the Edit Test Info control in the upper right corner. Some test fields cannot be edited, such as type, result, and time and date. However, additions or corrections can be made to the other fields. After making changes, select the Save Changes control. If you attempt to make edits but do not have the edit icons I've shown in this video, this means that you've been set up in the Database Administration program as a user type that does not have permission for editing data. Speak to your program administrator. HearSIM can be set up to create an export file automatically when you import data from your screening device. Having HearSIM create an export file automatically when screening data is imported can eliminate the extra steps of performing a manual export. To enable the automatic export, select the main menu control in the upper left corner of the screen and click on Administration. Select the Export page from the choices across the top. In the Automatic Tracking Export section, enable the feature using this on-off control. In the File Format field, use the drop-down control to see the list of available file formats. Choose the one that meets your requirements. Typically, the format is defined by your regional or state EDI program. In this example, I'll choose the HiTrack export format. You'll note that a default entry of the path and file name is entered into the Destination File field. This field defines the location to which the file will be saved, as well as defining the file name. You can leave this set to the default, or you can edit it to your preferences using the small folder control at the front of the field. This opens a Save As window. Here you can set and save your desired destination path. Review the entry to be sure it includes not only the desired path, but also the file name at the end of the field. There are two additional settings. Enable the Exclude Incomplete Test Results checkbox if you want to avoid including incomplete test attempts in the file. Enable the Encrypt Export File checkbox if you want the export file to be encrypted. If you choose to encrypt the file, then you'll have to provide the decryption tool to whomever receives the file so that it can be decrypted before processing. Refer to the user manual for more information about the decryption tool. With automatic export enabled, every time you import data from your screening device into HearSIM, test data will be appended to this file. You can send it or merge it into your state's EDI database at any time. HearSIM supports many patient demographic fields. Some of these are drop-down list fields that contain entries that can be customized for your program. Configuring these lists is performed by selecting the main menu in the upper left corner and then the configuration item. Across the top, you'll see tab headers for all of the lists. Some have default entries, some are empty. All of the lists can be edited for your needs. Let's look at the Screeners page. I've already set up some screener names. To add a screener, select the Add Screener control in the upper right side of the screen. Fields open for entry of the screener name or ID and the password that you'll use to log in if you choose to enable this feature on the device. After entering the information, select Add just to the right of the fields. Continue until you have all of your screeners entered. To edit an existing screener name or password, just click on the row to make the fields editable. Make the changes and they'll be saved. The control behind the password field allows you to remove a name from the list permanently. Now let's look at one of the pre-configured lists, for example, nursery types. You can also add entries into these lists using the Add control. Additionally, you can use the Remove control to eliminate entries. The vertical dot control in the header allows you to restore the default items in the list. All of the lists are set up in this same way. HearSIM allows you to set preferences on your easyScreen device. Select the main menu and Devices. The tabs across the top show you the categories of settings you can make that will affect your device. The Screeners tab shows the screener names you set up in the configuration page. However, in this page you can enable screener names you wish to send to the device and disable those that you don't want to send. Also, you can set the order of the screener names as they will appear on the device. To do this, use the control near the header to alphabetize the list, or you can use the double dot control in front of a name when you set your mouse over it to click and drag the names into a specific order. It can be helpful to put the names of people who perform most of the screenings at the top of the list. The Facilities tab displays the facilities you set up in the configuration page. These facilities only display on the easyScreen if you choose to enable the Test Fields option on the device. I'll show you that in a minute. The Risk Factors tab displays the risk factors as they were set up in the configuration page. This list will appear on the easyScreen if you choose to transfer them. The Ethnicities tab displays the ethnicities as they were set up in the configuration page. This list interacts with a setting in the Patients Fields tab to determine if the list will appear on your device. We'll look at that setting shortly. The Options tab has a series of on-off controls you can set that can then be transferred to your easyScreen device. Enable Screener Login if you want your screeners to log in by choosing their name and entering a password when they turn on the device. Doing so also automatically saves the screener name with the tests they perform. Disable the Quick Test control if you do not want to allow your screeners to perform a test without entering patient information. Enable the Test Fields control if you want to save your facility name and the infant's hospital status with each test. Enable the Stop Reason control if you want your screeners to select a value of Could Not Test or Invalid Test when they terminate a test before it is complete. Enable the Auto ID if your facility does not use patient IDs or medical record numbers and you want the device to automatically enter a value in the patient ID field so the screening can be saved. Disable the Print control if you don't use the wireless label printer that's available for your screening device. Disable the Comments control if you don't want the option to add a comment associated with a screening. Enable Screening Stage if your program wants to save information with a test as to whether it's a first, second, or third screening attempt. Enable the Ethnicities control if you want to be able to set a value for ethnicity for a baby in the device's patient information screen. The Patient Fields tab lets you set some basic patient demographic fields as mandatory on the easyScreen before a screening can be performed. The patient ID is always mandatory. Use these other controls if you want to set other patient fields as mandatory on the device. The Protocols tab is empty by default. Your easyScreen comes with pre-programmed protocols you can use for screening. They were defined to be efficient and with high sensitivity. We suggest that you stick with the default protocols. For program supervisors who want more information about alternate protocols, the function of this tab will be covered in a separate video. When you have all of the tabs set to your preferences, connect the easyScreen to the PC. If the easyScreen is ready to accept new settings, there'll be a gear graphic inside the device icon on the bottom left corner. Review the checkboxes to be sure they are set correctly according to the changes you want to make. Then select Update. Disconnect the easyScreen. You must turn the device off and back on again for the settings to take effect. Your easyScreen comes with pre-programmed protocols you can use for screening. They were defined to be efficient and with high sensitivity. We suggest that you stick with the default protocols. However, HearSIM does offer additional protocols to choose from and transfer to your easyScreen. Select the main menu and Devices. Choose the Protocols tab. It's empty by default. Use the Add Protocol control in the upper right corner to open a browser window containing all of the available easyScreen protocol files. The beginning of the file name indicates which type of protocol it is, an ABR, DPoAE, or TEoAE protocol. The rest of the file name gives some indication of the protocol parameters. Select a protocol of interest to you and click on Open. The selected protocol is added to the Protocols tab of HearSIM. Here you can select the protocol to expand a window that shows additional information about that protocol. If you want to transfer this protocol to easyScreen, then enable it using the on-off control. Repeat this process for as many protocols as you wish to review and possibly send to easyScreen. Your easyScreen will only display protocols for which you have purchased a license. To transfer the selected protocols, connect the easyScreen to your PC. When the device icon appears with a gear symbol inside, select it. Be sure to select the check mark in front of the Protocols item in the list. Then choose Update. Disconnect the easyScreen. Be sure to power the easyScreen off and then back on again for the new settings to take effect. HearSIM is capable of importing a list of patients from a file generated by a third-party database, such as HITRAC or a hospital EMR. This import function can populate HearSIM with patient information, thereby avoiding manual entry and the chance for data entry errors. There are two specific formats that are accepted. One is called the HITRAC format, and the other is the HearSIM XML format. The required format is described in the HearSIM user manual, and you're referred there for more information. The file generated by the third-party database, or EMR, must adhere to one of these formats. In this video, I'll show you the steps to follow for importing a list of patients from such a file into HearSIM. Select the main menu in the upper left corner of the screen and choose the Import Patients item. Select the format of the file you'll import from this drop-down field. For this example, I'll choose HITRAC format. Using the Browse control in front of the second field, browse to the location of the file, select it, and click on Open. A list of the patients will display, and by default, the names will be selected, meaning that the checkbox in front of each name is turned on. You can refine this by deselecting any names you don't wish to import. Select the Import control in the bottom right corner to actually execute the import. A confirmation message shows, and here you can opt to delete the import file or keep it. Now, when you go back to your patient list screen, you'll see these new patients at the top of the list. You can also go to the Just Imported filtered list to see only the names of these newly imported patients. HearSIM saves a record of events and changes made in the software. You can review the audit log by selecting the main menu icon, Administration, and then going into the Audit Logging tab. Here you'll see a time-ordered list of events. Each row shows an event including what was accessed, by whom, and if there was a change of information, it shows the old versus the new value. Search parameters on the left side allow you to search for a specific patient, test, or a specific date range of log entries. The fields displayed in the Patient Details and Contact Info tabs can be customized. From the main menu, select Administration and Patient Details. Here, you'll see a list of all available fields. On-off controls in two columns allow you to display or hide fields, and for the fields you choose to display, you can opt to make the field mandatory. Some fields are enabled by default and cannot be hidden. Use the on-off controls in the display column to turn off fields you don't want to include in the patient information or contact info screens. Use the controls in the mandatory column if you want to force entry into a field before a patient name can be saved. Some fields have an information symbol next to the mandatory control. These are fields that appear in HearSIM, but also are present in the easyScreen device patient information screen. Setting one of these fields to mandatory will also enable a setting in the device patient fields page to make this field mandatory also on the device. These new device settings would need to be transferred to easyScreen for them to take effect. After setting your preferences, your patient details and contact information screens will display, showing only the fields you have enabled. If you attempt to add a new patient or save edits to the patient details or contact info when some fields are defined as mandatory, then upon selection of Save Changes, you will be notified if mandatory fields are not completed. Fill them in and then proceed to save changes.